Welcome to the study session where we are breaking down the BCBA 6th edition task list. Today we are tackling Task B.7, which asks us to define and provide examples of automatic and socially mediated contingencies.
We are still deep in Domain B, which is concepts and principles. This domain is the absolute heavyweight of the BCBA exam, accounting for 14% of your total score. That means about 24 of the 175 scored questions are going to come from this section. Task B.7 is a classic because it forces you to look at who is actually delivering the consequence.
Exactly. It is all about the source of the payoff. Let's start with the one most people are familiar with, socially mediated contingencies. According to our sources, a socially mediated contingency is one where the consequence results from the action of another person.
I like to say it takes two to tango with this one. You perform a behavior, and someone else provides the reaction that either reinforces or punishes it. The prep guide gives a great example of a dad named Daniel. Daniel claps and cheers whenever his 3-year-old son dances. Because of that social reaction, his son now dances whenever he sees Daniel.
That is a perfect example of socially mediated reinforcement. The kid dances, and the dad provides the applause. If the dad wasn't there to clap, the kid might not be as motivated to bust a move. This also applies to things like a teacher rewarding a student with a gold star for finishing work or a parent punishing a child by taking away their phone for staying out past curfew. In all these cases, there is a middleman between the behavior and the consequence.
Now, if socially mediated is the social butterfly of contingencies, automatic contingencies are the loners. An automatic contingency is one where the consequence is produced directly by a response, independent of the actions of another person.
This is the stuff you do that provides its own result without needing an audience. A really relatable example from the source is Rachel getting a sunburn. Rachel lays out in the sun without sunscreen. The behavior is laying out, the consequence is the painful sunburn.
Exactly. The sun didn't decide to punish Rachel because it was having a bad day. The consequence happened as a direct result of her behavior in that environment. No human middleman required. In a clinical setting, we often see this with the sensory or automatic function of behavior.
Right, think about scratching an itch. You feel a tickle, you scratch, and the relief is immediate. You didn't need to ask your BCBA for permission or wait for a therapist to deliver a token. The behavior produced its own reinforcement. This is also where things like stimming or self-stimulatory behaviors usually fall. The person engages in the movement because it feels a certain way, regardless of who else is in the room.
On the exam, this is a huge area for 175 scored questions because the scenarios can be tricky. You have to ask yourself one simple question: if this person were alone on a desert island, would this behavior still result in this consequence?
That is the ultimate test. If I am on a desert island and I yell for a cheeseburger, nothing happens. That means getting a cheeseburger is a socially mediated contingency. But if I am on that same island and I pick a coconut and eat it, my hunger goes away. That is an automatic contingency. The environment provided the result directly.
I love that. And remember, for the exam, don't get distracted by whether the behavior is good or bad. We are just looking at the mechanism of delivery. Socially mediated equals another person involved. Automatic equals the behavior itself does the work.
It is also worth noting that many behaviors can be both. A child might start out spinning in circles because it feels good, that is an automatic contingency. But then, if they notice that spinning makes their teacher laugh and give them attention, it might also become a socially mediated contingency. As behavior analysts, we have to use our data to untangle which one is maintaining the behavior at that moment.
That is why we track those antecedents and consequences so carefully. If you can distinguish between these two, you are well on your way to mastering those 24 questions in Domain B.
If you want to test your skills at identifying these contingencies in real-world scenarios, head over to www.bcbamockexam.com for more practice.
Keep up the hard work. We will see you in the next session.
See ya.
Bye.